I am 85 years old. For over 4 decades, I sat across tables from presidents, from prime ministers, from men and women who held the fate of millions in their hands. I negotiated ceasefires in rooms where the wrong word could start a war. I have shaken hands with leaders whose names you read in history books. And I am telling you right now, none of it matters the way I thought it would. Because last spring my father died. He was 104 years old. And in all those years, all those decades, I never once sat across a table with him. Not the way I sat with those presidents, not with that same focus, that same presence, that same quiet urgency. I gave the world my best words. My father got whatever was left, and there was never much left. I thought I had time. He was strong. He was stubborn. The way old men from his generation were stubborn, like stone that refuses to become sand. So I told myself next year. Next visit, next phone call. I was wrong. The calls got shorter. The visits got fewer. And the years moved the way years do when you are too busy to watch them. I was in Geneva when he had his first fall. I was in Brussels when he stopped remembering my name. I was at a ceremony, receiving an award for my life's work in diplomacy, when my sister called to tell me he was gone. I stood there holding that award, and I felt something I had no word for. Not grief, not guilt, something older than both, something that lives in the space between who you meant to be and who you actually were. I have spent my entire life finding the right words, and standing there in that moment I had none. My father was not a complicated man. That was what I never understood about him. Not when I was young, not when I was ambitious, not when I was climbing. He was a farmer. He woke before the sun. He worked until his hands cracked and bled. He came home, washed his face, sat at the same chair at the same table, and ate whatever my mother had made. Every day. For 60 years. I watched that life as a boy, and I made a silent promise to myself. I will not be this. I will be more. And I became more. I learned languages, 4 of them. I studied law. I studied history. I read books my father could not read because no one had ever taught him how. I left our village at 19 with one bag and a belief that the world was waiting for me. But I never stopped to ask what I was leaving behind. My father never complained. That was the thing about him. He never called and said, "Son, I miss you." He never wrote letters full of longing. He never made me feel guilty. He just waited, quietly, patiently, the way farmers wait for rain, and I mistook his silence for contentment. I told myself, he is fine. He is proud of me. He shows his pride by not asking for more. I was wrong. Years later, near the end, when his mind was still clear but his body had begun to surrender, I visited him for a week. One of the few real visits, not a stop between flights. An actual week. On the 3rd day, he said something I was not ready for. He said, "I used to listen to your voice on the radio sometimes. When you spoke at the United Nations, I didn't understand the English, but I recognized your voice." He paused. Then he said, "I always wondered if you were happy." I sat there in his small kitchen, in that small house, and I realized something that broke something inside me. He had been listening for me across oceans, across decades, through a radio he could barely operate. He was not waiting for my success. He was waiting for me, and I had been too busy becoming someone important to understand the difference. I thought I had time. I thought success was a gift I was giving him. I was wrong. He didn't want the gift. He wanted his son. Just his son, sitting across from him, with nothing to negotiate, nowhere to be. No agenda on the table, just present. And I gave him everything except that. The week before he died, I was not there. I want you to understand that. Not because I did not know he was fading. I knew. My sister had called 3 times in 2 weeks, her voice each time a little quieter, a little more careful with her words. The way people speak when they are preparing you for something you are not ready to hear. But I had a summit, an important one, years in the making. The kind of meeting that makes it into reports and newspapers and historical records. I told myself, he is stable. The doctor said stable. I will go. I will finish this. And then I will fly to him. I will be there by the weekend. Later never came. He passed on a Tuesday morning, quietly, the way he had lived. My sister said he had asked about me the night before, not in a desperate way. Not with anger. He simply asked, "Is he coming?" She told him yes. She lied to him so he could sleep peacefully. I will carry that for the rest of my life. When I finally arrived, not to see him, but to bury him, I stood at his grave, and I felt the full weight of every year I had chosen something else over him. Every year I had been too important to be his son. And something shifted in me that day, permanently, the way a bone shifts when it breaks and heals wrong. I looked at my career, my titles, my framed agreements hanging on office walls, and for the first time in my life, I could not make myself care about any of it. I had spent 40 years believing that achievement was love, that providing was presence, that being great at what I did was the same as being good to the people who needed me. I was wrong. I was so completely wrong. There is a particular kind of pain that has no name. It is not grief alone. Grief is clean. Grief is the natural response to loss. This was something else. This was the pain of realizing the loss did not have to happen the way it did. That there were hundreds of moments, small, ordinary, available moments, where I could have chosen differently. A phone call I didn't make. A visit I postponed. A conversation I kept telling myself we would have later. Later never came. It never does. And standing at that grave, at 84 years old, with every credential a diplomat could earn, I would have traded every single one of them for one more Tuesday morning sitting in his kitchen, saying nothing, just being there, just being his son. I want to tell you something now, and I need you to really hear it, not with your ears, with the part of you that already knows I am right. We have been taught a lie, a very convincing lie, one that sounds like wisdom, one that the world rewards you for believing. The lie is this, that the people who love you will always be there, that they are the constant, the given, the thing that does not require urgency. We treat our careers like they are fragile, like if we look away for one moment, everything will collapse. We treat our ambitions like they are patients in critical condition, always needing our attention, always demanding we stay. And we treat the people we love like they are walls, solid, permanent, requiring nothing from us. I was wrong. People are not walls. People are candles, and you do not notice how much light they gave until the room goes dark. I spoke to presidents about peace. I never made peace with my own father. I negotiated the release of hostages from foreign governments. I could not find the time to sit for one afternoon in my father's kitchen. I helped write agreements that protected the rights of millions of people I would never meet, and I failed the one person who had known me before I was anyone. Before the titles, before the languages, before the suits and the summits and the carefully chosen words. He knew me when I was nothing, and I treated him like he could wait. Don't make my mistake. You think the people who love you are patient because they do not complain, because they say, "Don't worry, I understand, your work is important." They say that because they love you, not because it is true, not because it does not hurt. They wait because they believe in you, because they are proud of you, because they have decided that loving you means accepting whatever version of you the world gets to keep. And we call that loyalty, but we never stop to ask what it costs them. What it costs a father to listen to his son's voice on a radio and wonder if he is happy. What it costs a mother to set a place at the table out of habit long after she knows you are not coming. What it costs a brother, a sister, a friend to keep saying next time, maybe next time, hoping that one day next time will finally mean something. I thought I had time. I always thought I had time. I was wrong. The truth, the real truth that no one tells you when you are young and hungry and reaching, is this. Your career will survive your absence. Your family will not. Not in the way that matters. Not in the way where you still get to be part of them. You can return to a job. You cannot return to a moment. You cannot walk back into a Tuesday morning that has already passed. You cannot sit across a table from someone who is no longer there. I know how to negotiate with the most powerful people on earth. I did not know how to simply be present with my father. And presence, just presence, was the only thing he ever asked of me. He never asked for money. He had enough. He never asked for fame. He didn't want it. He never asked me to come home and stay. He understood who I was. He just wanted me to show up sometimes, fully, not between flights, not with one eye on my phone, fully. And I could not give him that, because I had convinced myself that later was a real place, that later was somewhere I could go when the important things were finished. Later never came. It never does. Don't make my mistake. I am 85 years old, and I am talking to you because there is no one left to talk to. My father is gone. My mother has been gone for 20 years. My sister calls every Sunday. I pick up on the first ring now, every time, without exception, because I finally learned. Too late. But I learned, and I am asking you, begging you, not to wait until you are standing at a grave to learn the same thing. Look at your phone right now. How long has it been since you called your father? Your mother? The person who knew you before you became whoever you are trying to become. Not a message, not a quick text, a real call, a real conversation, real time, real presence. When did you last give them that? I know what you're going to tell yourself. You are going to say, I will call this weekend. I will visit next month. Things will slow down soon, and then I will have more time. I thought I had time. I thought the same thing at 35, at 45, at 55, at 65. Every decade I told myself the same lie in a different voice. And every decade my father got older, and every decade the distance between us grew. Not because we fought, not because we didn't love each other, simply because I kept choosing later. And later has a way of becoming never. I want you to understand something about regret. People talk about regret like it is an emotion, like it is something you feel for a while and then it passes. It does not pass. Not this kind. The regret of a missed career opportunity, that fades. Because careers move, new doors open. The world keeps offering chances. The regret of a person you lost, that does not fade, because they are not replaced. Because no promotion, no achievement, no amount of recognition can walk back into the room and sit across from you. No award can ask you, are you happy? No title can wait for you across an ocean, listening for your voice on a radio. Only a person can do that. And people do not wait forever. I know you are busy. I know the world is asking a great deal from you right now. I know it feels like if you stop, even for a moment, something important will fall apart. But I need you to hear this from someone who has been where you are going. Nothing that falls apart at work will matter at the end. Not one thing. What will matter is the faces, the people, the ordinary Tuesday mornings you were present for, the phone calls you made not because there was news, but simply because you wanted to hear their voice, the visits where nothing happened, nothing was planned, nothing was achieved, just time, shared, quietly, together. That is what you will reach for at the end, not the summits, not the awards, not the history books, the kitchen table, the familiar voice, the feeling of being known by someone who loved you first. I am 85 years old. I have shaken hands with history, and I would give every single moment of it, every negotiation, every ceremony, every headline, for one more morning with my father. Just one, sitting in his kitchen, saying nothing important, just being his son. Don't make my mistake. The people who love you are not walls, they are candles. And one day, without warning, the light will go out, and no amount of success will make the room bright again. Call them, not later, now, because later never comes, and now, right now, is all any of us ever truly have.